Okay, and let her get started. Okay.
Thank you, Rob. Yes, like he said, we have a special guest in the studio this morning. And she is a business owner. She does classes on being a business owner. So I feel like I have an expert in the studio with me. So any like tips and tricks you want to drop today, like we'll be thankful for that. But I have Brittany Purcell, and she owns Brittany Purcell and Associates. She's a realtor, a broker.
Yes.
Correct? Yes, yes. And basically, she's a mom and she's a horse owner, and she pretty much does it all. So I'm going to hand it over to Brittany, and she's going to tell us her story.
Awesome. Well, so I own a couple of businesses, actually. So I own Brittany Purcell and Associates, and it's a real estate group. We also own a property management organization called Georgia Legacy Management as well. And I also coach realtors and business owners across the country. So I own those businesses, and then my farm is also a business. Sometimes it happens to be a negative profit organization. However, it is working its way towards a profitable organization. So a little about my story. I actually, when I went to college, I went to the University of Georgia, and I wanted to be a veterinarian. I did not do very well in chemistry, so that got nipped in the bud pretty quickly. However, I have a knack for people, and I always have. I mean, I loved waiting tables. I loved working at the bank. Like I had all these jobs where I was either in customer service or sales, and I did really well at it. And some people think that maybe I'm really passionate about real estate, and that's why I own a real estate company. That's not really the case. When I was in school, I was going to school full time, and I was working full time, and my mom kept saying, you need to get into real estate. You need to get into real estate, because she had a real estate license when the market was like really booming and amazing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like 2004 through 2006, my mom was going, this is so easy. You've got to do this. Right. And then, she said the magic words, which were, Brittany, if you'll just do it, I'll pay for it.
Nice.
Right. So, okay. So I finally go, okay. Let's get your real estate license. Mom's paying for it. What's it going to hurt? You know, you're working full time, going to school full time. What's one more thing on your plate?
Right.
And I took the course, passed the course, and for anybody who knows the significance of the time of year and the year, I got my license in July of 2007.
Oh, wow.
Right as the market kind of bottomed out, right? So, you know, I have this chirping in my ear of this is so easy, this is so easy. It was not easy. It was the opposite of easy. And for a couple of years, I just sold a couple of houses. I did it part-time while I continued to go to school and continued to work full-time. And my daughter was born in 2010. And shortly after that, my broker of a small brokerage came to me and said that she was going to be closing her brokerage and going to Keller Williams Realty. And that was a pivotal moment in my life, because I had not been taking real estate seriously at all. It was sell a house every once in a while and maybe buy something that we really wanted, you know, like a mattress or a toy or a vacation or whatever. And I came over to KW, long story short, and the world got opened up to me. I mean, they have an amazing amount of education and resources for their agents. And so I came over, and all of a sudden, like just the lid just popped off for me. It was like suddenly I saw all this potential inside of this career, and I just dove in head first. That was in 2010, and keep in mind I had not been taking it seriously at all. By 2012, we were doing so much business I had to hire help. Wow. For the first time. And over the years, we've grown this business to the point where we do over 150 transactions a year. So we serve 150 families a year just on the real estate sales side.
Wow.
And then we're managing around 50 properties right now, with the goal, of course, to grow in our property management group as well. And over the course of the few years, you know, people think that I might be passionate about real estate, but what I've realized along the way is it's never really been about real estate or any specific career path I'm on. I love serving people. I love helping people, whether I'm working with a buyer or a seller or an investor or just one of my team members that's coming to me for help. I realized a long time ago, I just love leading people and mentoring them and coaching them and taking the information that I'll go research, because I love reading and researching, etc. And I pull it all together, and then I love guiding them. So to me, it wasn't really about real estate. It was just about helping people. So that's like the real, in a nutshell, Reader's Digest version of how I got to where I am. It all started with my mom doing the right thing and telling me, you know, I'll pay for it. The simplest things to us when we're young. And over time, it's really blossomed into an amazing, amazing career. So
It sounds like it.
yeah.
So are you from this area?
No, actually, I was born in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
We moved around a lot as I was growing up, and then I ended up going to high school and everything in Alpharetta. So I was from Atlanta, as the locals might call it, and my husband calls it all the time. And anything south of the Mall of Georgia,
Yep, it's Atlanta.
is Atlanta. And I came to UGA for school and fell in love with my husband, and he moved me out here, and
Nice.
I've never looked back. This is probably one of the first places I've ever felt like I was truly home. You know, it's a pretty magical city to me.
Nice.
So yeah,
Very cool. I'm from Hickory, North Carolina, so
very cool.
yeah, small world.
Yeah.
So you went to UGA and then you transitioned into this community. And how many children do you have?
We have three.
3 children.
We have 10, 8, and about to be 5
Wow.
on Sunday. So
Oh.
it's a busy, wild household. So yeah, it's fun.
And then you have the farm and the horses.
Yeah, that was actually a condition of me moving further away from what I said was like people and a big city. Because, you know, when you sell real estate, you want to be around a lot of people. And at least I thought I did. And my husband wanted to live closer to family. My family's all moved away.
Right.
And I said, okay, I will move if we can have acreage and I can finally have a horse. It's been my lifelong dream to have a horse. Well, before we were even done, I had the fencing up and we owned 2 horses before the house was even done.
Wow.
So AJ's probably like, what in the world did I agree to? But we're very happy, or at least he pretends to be for for most of
That's
it.
hysterical.
But yeah,
At least
that
he
was-
knows where your heart was, though.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
heart, you were not joking when you said you wanted those horses.
No, I was not. I was not. And it is a beautiful, beautiful property. He inherited part of the acreage from his family, and then we bought the rest of the acreage that we have from other family members. So it's his grandparents' land, and it's got a lot of history to it.
Aw.
And it's just really nice to have it be a working farm right now, and to see it in its glory.
So your daily routine is not like most realtors and brokers, as far as like you get up, when you have a farm, you have to get up very early. You have lots of responsibilities around the house, but then you have 3 kids.
Yes.
So I don't know how you do all that you do.
I don't either some days, but I've got a principle. You said you wanted tips. And one of my favorite tips or pieces of information that guides my life is something called the 80-20 principle. And the 80-20 principle is about 20% of our activities lead to 80% of our results. And so I'm constantly looking at my schedule and the way that I'm spending my time and asking myself, is this the most valuable way that I can spend my time? You know, whether it be at work and there's certain things that we do that generate 80% of the income, or 20% of the activities that we do that help the other people generate 80% of their income. And then at home, it's how can I spend quality time, right? What's the 20% of activities? It's clearly not going to be me griping at my kids. But if their favorite activity is coloring, or their favorite activity is going out and doing a scavenger hunt in the woods, that might be the most valuable thing that I can do in that relationship. And so I actually feel like I live a really full life, and I don't like free time. I'll just tell you, I don't do very well being bored, and that's probably why my life is the way that it is. But I wake up at a normal time as everybody else. We don't have cows to milk or anything like that. So we actually don't do farm chores until later in the afternoon. So we wake up, and it's usually been taking the kids to school, but they're out right now. So we're crisis schooling right now is what I'm calling
Right.
this. This is not homeschooling. This is crisis schooling. And so we wake up at a decent time. My work day starts at about 8:30. And actually my work day generally ends for the most part around 3:30, and I've modeled it that way on purpose because the school bus was getting off at 3:45. And so a work day for me involves networking, generating business, doing interviews just like this one, coaching my team members, potentially consulting with clients to help them, essentially anything that drives the business forward. And I'm very, very intentional about the fact that from 8:30 to 3:30, except for a break, everything in there is top 20% material, right? It's dollar generating. It's the most important thing that I can do that day. I'm very, very intentional about that, because when I go home, I want to, and even if I'm home right now, right, because of COVID and everything, I'm home, but it's switching from work to personal. I want to be able to switch to personal without any guilt whatsoever. And then the next morning, I want to be able to switch back to work without guilt, knowing that I gave my family the best that I could. And one of the big things that I've noticed in coaching women across the country is we carry around this guilt. And it's so prevalent that there's book after book after website written on this mom guilt thing, about how we're guilty that we're spending more time on work, or we're guilty that we're not with our kids, or we're guilty, whatever. It's just like there's not a perfect balance. And so one of the ways that I feel like I'm winning that battle in my own world is to make sure that work time is spent absolutely as purposefully as possible, and then at home time is spent as purposefully as possible. And we could go more into that at any given time, what that looks like as well. But that 80-20 principle is absolutely a guiding principle in my life. So.
I love the strict boundaries you have with that, because my friend Leslie and I were walking the other day, and we were talking about this. She was like, when I'm at work, I feel terrible, but when I'm home, I feel guilty. Why is it that, I feel terrible about not being with my kids when I'm at work, and then I'm with my kids, and I feel like I should be doing something to bring in revenue, especially now, during this COVID crisis. So I like that. That's a good alternative. You have strict boundaries, and someone who does work from home, I understand that you have to draw those boundaries. And I have a bag that I used to take to my job when I worked in corporate and marketing, and when that bag is downstairs at my home, my family knows that I'm home. But when that bag is upstairs, my family knows that mom is at work. So don't bother me unless you would pick up the phone to physically call me if I was working outside the home. Don't bother me. Because I'm at work.
Right.
In quotation marks. I know y'all can't see that. But I like that. That's like a visual for my family to see that if I did get in my car and drive somewhere, that bag would be gone.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
Right.
I'm a little distracted right now at work, so give me that space, and you have to draw those boundaries.
And I think the key too is I have to look at it on a monthly and weekly basis. What are the most important things that I'm going to get done for the business? Like, what are my actual priorities? And so when you say that I teach classes about business, this is actually how I teach the class is I go in and I teach people, first of all, how do you write a business plan for an entire year that's simple and it's not complicated and it's 1 page long, so that you can follow it and you can post it and you can come back to it at all given points in time, and that you can actually accomplish it. Because nobody likes to look at their goals and go, well, there's no way that that's going to happen, or get 3/4 of the way through the year and go, well, let's throw that out, or whatever. So it's got to be 1 page. It's got to be simple. And then each week, there's usually only, like, if you really think about it, if you wake up on Monday morning and say, what are the things that I absolutely have to get done this week? For me, like, if every emergency took place, if everything, if it hit the fan, right? If all of these things happen, what are the 1 or 2 things that I absolutely have to get done for, to be proud of this week? Well, those are the things that you actually need to make a priority. Because a lot of times we just feel like we need to be busy, and that's not the case. Being busy doesn't help us move our businesses forward. It just helps us replace that quiet time. So if you start to think by priority, then you can start going, okay, it's okay to go home because I've worked on part of that priority. I'm going to finish the rest of it tomorrow, or whatever that looks like. And you're clear on, I did what was absolutely necessary to bring my business forward. And then it's the same thing at home. I have my husband and I have a date night that we do, and we're not always perfect, right? But we realized a long time ago, somebody gave us the tool of, we call it 3 Ds: dialogue daily, date night weekly, and depart quarterly. And what that means is talking every day about something other than work, like making sure that we put our phones down, turn the TV off, and like have a conversation and make eye contact, right? Like actual eye contact, right? And then weekly having a date night. And, one of the things that we had to do very early on was just trade off with other families, because date nights can become expensive if you go get a fancy dinner or even just dinner. And then a babysitter, you can cost $80 to $100 just for one night out.
Easily, yeah.
And if you do that weekly, then you're talking about $400, $500 a month of a budget just to be dating your spouse. You already got that one in the bag, right? So one of the things that we did was find other friends and family members who wanted the same thing. Like, hey, do you take a date night? And they go, no, but man, I'd love to. Well, why don't we start trading off? And I'll keep your kids the one night over the weekend or during, whatever day it is, and then you do the other. And that was really, really powerful for us to like just get away from everything and just talk. And it's been interesting with COVID. We've still taken date nights. We've gotten curbside food, and then we've like sat and eaten in our car or at a park whenever there's one open, and just appreciating silence and nobody saying mom or dad a million times. So
a bajillion times.
A bajillion times.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's things like that where dialogue daily, date night weekly, depart quarterly, that's a 20% item in your marriage. That's a 20% thing that you say, am I doing the absolute best thing I can in this relationship? And then it's the same thing with your kids. Got to find that thing for your kids, because it's not all staring at our phones. It's what do they need as well. And I think if we start thinking by priority like that, the guilt will eventually dissipate to just a little bit. I don't have a whole lot of guilt anymore, because I know when I'm at work, I'm at work, and when I'm at home, I'm at home, and we're having a good time. So
that's awesome. I have a unique perspective when it comes to that, the whole mom guilt thing, because it's like, yes, you feel guilty, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I quit my job, stayed home with him, raised him, and then I started my own thing. So it's like, there's a part of me that is so concrete in like what I gave up for that. So it's like, I don't know. It's like a 50-50 thing with me. So it's hard for me to relate to moms who did work when they had to leave an infant. Like, my heart goes out to those moms, but at the same time, I'm like, well, they established their routine early on. Because now here I am with a 7-year-old, and I'm still working on those boundaries because mama was always available. So it's an interesting perspective. It doesn't matter what situation you're in as a mom. If you own a business or you work a job, you're being pulled. And there's always guilt associated when you're a mom. So I'm glad that you found a good solution to that.
And I think the important thing to remember is whether somebody is like a stay-at-home mom, a work-from-home mom, a work-at-work mom, whether it started at 6 weeks, whether it started, is to rest assured that your heart knows the absolute best thing for your family. There's no judgment one way or the other. And you are your harshest critic. So you're the one giving yourself a hard time. Nobody else is really, honestly, nobody else is really thinking about us like that. We're the ones judging ourselves and giving ourselves a hard time. And it's like a loop on repeat in our heads. Nobody else is spending that much time criticizing us.
They're doing what they need to get done.
or they're criticizing themselves. They're not thinking about us. Nobody else is thinking about us like that. We are our harshest critic. And so when we finally understand that we're the ones that are drinking the poison over and over and over again, we've got to change the story in our minds. And your children absolutely need you to live your biggest life, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's your spiritual life, your financial life, your health life. Your soul is crying for more, and you need something and want something more. You want to build that dream that you've had, or write that book that you've had, or climb that ladder if that's what you choose. Your children need to be able to see that and see you living a big life. That's the best gift that you can give them, is showing them that everything and anything is their opportunity as well. And it can also be their opportunity to stay at home, right? That's a beautiful gift as well. And I think I'm a big advocate for women and just making the right decision for their family and trusting it, because there's so many different opinions about what is right or what is wrong. What's right for you is right for you, period.
And just as each unique person, their experience is different, every single family's experience and what's best for them is different. And I love that because, I mean, they say variety is the spice of life, right? But like, if it wasn't for the unique opportunities that we have, as especially in today's world, like we have so many opportunities to work from home now that we never had before. Before because of technology. But like, that can be celebrated. Why does it need to be like shunned and shamed and made this big deal when that can be celebrated? We have so many unique opportunities now that we never had before. And that is, to me that's huge. But to me, it's also a good reminder that, okay, just because something's different doesn't mean it should be frowned upon. So it should be celebrated. Rob, do we need to go to a break? He's giving me the look. That's usually the break look. Okay, so we are going to hear a word from our sponsors, and then we will be back after this quick break. Thank you. Sorry, I had to hit play on my recorder. I have Brittany Purcell in the studio today, and I am videoing her here, so we will have a link to my YouTube channel on the Facebook page, Hometown Business Review, shortly. So y'all will have to do that if you want to see her. But we have Brittany Purcell in the studio today, and we are talking about her 3 businesses that she owns, and she does classes, she does coaching nationwide, and she also coaches her team. So let's transition a minute and talk about your team. So you own the Legacy.
I've got Georgia Legacy Management, and we have a property manager, Jill Palenzuela, there. And then on the real estate team, we have 7 team members, 2 people that are on our operations team, and the rest of their team members are in sales.
Wow.
Some of them do residential sales, like they're buyer specialists. We have listing specialists, and we have a commercial specialist as well that does commercial and farms and things like that. So,
wow, very cool.
Yeah.
So on the so we have a mutual friend in common then, Jill.
Yes.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So on that aspect of it, what is that like as far as managing? Because you said you love people.
Yeah.
But you obviously love people, but you obviously manage people well also.
I do my best, and I'm very lucky that they give me a lot more than I give them, I would say. Hiring the right people has become a passion of mine over the past couple of years because I've made some bad choices in the past, and I've brought on the wrong people before. And so, one of the things that I've learned is that we're not just here to help people. I told you earlier how much I love helping people, but I've realized people have to help themselves.
Absolutely.
As well. And so I've really worked very hard over the past couple of years to surround myself with people who their mission, their vision, their values, their work ethic, their personalities are a really good match for ours. And it's gotten to the point where when somebody interviews on our team, it takes about 8 or so hours of interviews. I mean, not all in one day or anything like that, but we dive into their past, what their goals are in the future. We do an interview with other team members to kind of check on the vibe and see if they get along and see if they pick up on anything that I didn't pick up on. And we've done a really amazing job. Like I have really, really great agents. And I will say it's hard to be a great leader of mediocre people. And so I really just work really hard to start by surrounding myself with great people who care about the client first and foremost, who care about each other. They're not independent agents on a team. They're team members. They're all working towards the same goal together. And I think when you do that, you have a lot less challenges. I mean, I have challenges, but I have a lot less challenges than I used to have. I think one of my biggest issues in learning to grow a real estate business is finding motivated people to come and work with me. If anybody runs a business where you have other sales reps and things like that, you are speaking this language. I mean, everything from your Mary Kay business builder all the way up to like somebody that owns like a furniture store, a cell phone store, or a retail store, anything, is finding motivated people. Because if we're having to push them along, that's management. We shouldn't be having to push them and wake up every day and spend our energy motivating them. They should show up at work with motivation. And the best type of leading is when they have the motivation, they have the energy, and you actually kind of have to steer them the right way. You don't have to push them. You don't have to light a fire under their butt or anything like that. They walk in with it, and then you're just guiding them. That's the best kind of leadership that you can possibly have. And so I can absolutely say without a doubt that's who I have in my organization right now. So it's actually really fun to lead them because they come up with all the creative ideas. They come up with how to implement things. We just did a hometown hero special on social media where we were getting everybody to nominate their favorite hometown heroes because of COVID, and we're just trying to find those inspirational stories to share. None of that was my idea. Like I sparked it. Like I threw a little spark in the fire and I threw it to them, and they jumped in and came up with the rest of it. And it's really awesome when you work with an organization where I don't feel like I'm the leader. I really don't. I know they probably see me as that and they look to me as the leader. However, I don't wake up every day and go, how am I going to lead them? I walk in every day and go, how am I going to add value to them? Because they're all so amazing. They could do whatever they want with or without me. So my job is to add value to them and make their lives better. So it's a different kind of question that managers get to ask. And I don't like the word manager. I'm just their partner. So,
but I like that you, from the get-go, because you said you had made mistakes and you've learned from those, that you instill that rigorous hiring process to kind of let that be the front runner to eliminate those problems. It's like your past self is doing your future self a favor, but that's a lot of work and up front, and I'm sure that would be intimidating to someone who isn't a self-motivator. So I like your approach there.
Yeah. It doesn't feel hard either. You know, whenever somebody gets into an interview with us, it's not the same as an interview like when I was going to corporate America. I'm really getting to know this human being at their core and trying to figure out, like, what do they want? Do they even want the same things as I do? Whenever we tell people no, like, we're not going to be a fit, it's never, I don't think you're good enough or anything like that. It's, listen, based on what you told me, I actually think this would be the best path for you. So it's almost like career counseling more than anything. And it's hard because I love people so much. I generally fall in love with every candidate that ever walks into my office because there's something so human about them and there's something so special about their story. I just have to watch and make sure I'm not rescuing people or welcoming them in just because I like them. Right. I want the right fit for them because I would rather go through 8 hours or maybe 4 hours if we cut it short for, because it's not a fit. I would rather go through that and hurt their feelings now rather than hurt their feelings 6 to 12 months from now when they've spent 6 to 12 months trying to make me happy and hitting my expectations and wondering why they can't meet them. I would much rather disappoint them now and launch them into the next best path for them. What I do is hard. I mean, I don't like to disappoint people and I don't like to reject people at all, but it is absolutely something that's part of what I have to do. And I mean, every business owner out there is familiar with it. It's painful sometimes. So.
Absolutely. And I like how you said you're not like a people rescuer, but you are someone that can help redirect that launch because... I used to be a people rescuer.
Me too. I used to be, I used to joke that I would collect strays because I am a stray. I just want to make sure that that's clear. That's not derogatory in any way. I mean, I have my own story and my own heartbreak and my own everything, and somebody believed in me. So I would translate that to whenever somebody else had a heartbreaking story, they needed to be rescued. But the truth is that I had to figure out is I was never rescued.
Right.
I rescued myself. The opportunities were presented in front of me and I took them. And so I have to look for the traits that I saw in myself. I have to look for those in the next set of people that I bring in. And again, when you find those people that are self-motivated, they don't need you to rescue them, but you and them together, 1 + 1 instead of 2 makes 11, right? And you're looking to add these relationships to your life that multiply you and multiply them. And if I'm really honest with myself, I know that in the interview. So
that's interesting. I like that you're doing yourself a favor by that rigorous process.
Yeah, I think I'm doing them a favor too. Is the way I like to think of it, because I've made the wrong call plenty of times. That's where all this knowledge comes from, right? Wisdom comes from bad decisions in the past and learning from them, and I remember how painful it is to let somebody go because it's not working out after 12 months or 6 months or whatever. and going back and remembering what they said in the interview, that I knew it then and I didn't call on it. So
learning. I love that. So as far as your team, are y'all currently hiring?
Yeah,
You
we're
are? Okay.
always looking for great people.
Okay.
We would actually love agents across Northeast Georgia. We have an abundance of business available to us out in this community and in the communities surrounding us. And I'm just big on, I'm looking for the right people. I mean, if you want to make six figures and control your schedule to some degree, but you want to do it with a team that's going to give you the knowledge and the support and the vacations and things like that you really need, that's the people that should come and work with us. And some people say they want six figures. Other people are willing to go out there and hustle and work their tail off for it. We're looking for the latter, not the former. So.
And that's on your Brittany Purcell and Associates side. As far as the Georgia Legacy side,
we're not hiring yet,
Okay.
and that's just because Jill and I are working on building it to a certain degree, and then once we have it to a certain degree, then we'll be looking for more as well. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So we're going to transition and talk about some of your favorite aspects of business. I know you do coaching and classes. So is there a certain topic that is your favorite?
Mindset, probably. Yeah, mindset and energy. God, that topic is so important right now. And I think the other thing that I've been bringing into some of my speeches and things like that recently has been, really understanding anxiety and depression and things like that, and how they're at play all the time. I think that goes in with mindset and energy, because I am one of those, I suffer from anxiety and depression. And I'm also one of those high achievers who thinks I can solve it with, like, if I just exercise enough, if I just, do this and meditate, and if I get enough sleep, etc. It's not always everything, right? And so one of the things that I talk to people about a lot is, first of all, surrounding yourself with a really great set of people that you can be honest with and that you can talk to. That's easier said than done. It's probably taken me these 12 years in business, 13 years in business to figure out who my people really are and who are my safe space that I can have these conversations with. But I talk a lot about our mental diet. And what are we taking in? I mean, everybody can talk about, okay, are you taking a leave every day? Maybe you should try something more homeopathic or all natural or whatever. And then we can talk about food and, okay, are you eating Chick-fil-A every day? Because I know I would love to. Or are we eating some vegetables and fruit at home and maybe try a smoothie every once in a while, or salad, right? But not a lot of people talk about the mental diet. And I've noticed that that's been a big struggle for me throughout this shelter in place thing. Is I was tempted to scroll through social media all day, every day, and then read the next article and the next article. That's your mental diet. The music you listen to, the podcasts you listen to, the television that you watch, the stuff that you're scrolling through on Facebook or whatever your social media preference is. All of that is your mental diet. That's what you're allowing into your brain. And we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. Subconscious means you don't know what it's thinking. You know what your conscious mind is thinking right now, right? Your conscious mind is either going, this lady's full of it, or I totally get this, right? Your conscious mind is saying something to you. Well, your subconscious mind is doing work all the time. It's doing work while you sleep. It's doing work while you're sitting there scrolling on Facebook. You just don't realize it's doing work. And what it's doing every single day is it's saying, okay, this is what Katie says. This is what Katie reads. This is what Katie, et cetera, et cetera. And then it goes, Katie must really like that, and she must want more of it. And this can show up in really interesting ways, even to the point where, we talk about goal setting and things like that. If you sit there and say, I want, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, I really want to go on a beach vacation, I really want to have freedom, etc. Well, the fact that you're starting the sentence with that, you're actually telling your subconscious mind that you'd like to continue wanting that. Instead of actually going out and getting it, you're telling your subconscious mind over and over and over again, I'd like to continue to want, so don't give it to me, because I really like wanting this.
Not owning this.
Right,
wanting it.
Right. I'm wanting it. So and so we have to say, I'm grateful for blank that I have, and I'm really grateful for this, and then maybe even just going to the beach or picking up pictures and looking at them, etc. And this works as well when you're reading and you're listening. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed. I mean, I love some good gangster rap every once in a while. I love all kinds of music, but sometimes you really need like some hardcore stuff. If you let it go too long, sometimes you can watch your own attitude change and your own mindset change. I love watching SVU. That's like one of my favorite shows in the whole wide world. But if I watch it too many nights in a row, all of a sudden I'm having nightmares and I'm like paranoid and are the doors locked and things like that. And it's funny how quickly we can, step into that world. And I'm aware of it. I'm very, very aware of how much I'm putting into my mind. And so I can feel when the pendulum swings a little bit. Many of us have no idea. We have something that's called confirmation bias. That's the way that our brains are wired to look for evidence that supports what we already believe. So that's that subconscious brain talking. So if take COVID, right? You're already upset. You're stuck at home. You're crisis schooling, and then you get on Facebook, and there's somebody whining and complaining, and you're going, "Yep, totally, I agree with that," or "I don't agree with that," or whatever, and you're getting all riled up inside. You can feel it. Well, your subconscious brain is going, "Man, Katie, that's out of the ordinary for you." But then you do it again the next day, and then you do it again the next day, and your brain just goes, "Well, shoot, I guess it's just what Katie wants. She just really wants to be stirred up inside, and so I'm going to find her more things to get stirred up about." You know what, Katie? Go pull up another article. Go pull up another one. Go pull up another one. Read that one. Get mad about that one, right? And before you know it, you have just spiraled into this abyss of whatever emotions that you're feeling right now. And so for us, it's been about at home putting our phones away. That's really hard. And it's been about me and my husband not talking about it. And that's really hard because we both want to articulate, and you can to some degree, but the more you speak it out, the more you're confirming, I really want this. I really want to be upset about this. I really want to engage in this. And so we have to step away. And maybe it's time to go watch The Office or Friends or, or Parks and Rec or something funny on television. Pivot! And maybe it's time to go listen to some uplifting music. Or maybe it's just time to go outside and leave your phone in the car and lock the car and just like walk away from it for a while and be present in the world that you're in. Or maybe it's time to go listen to an uplifting podcast that they don't even use the word COVID or coronavirus or something like that.
All right, if you find that, you point me in that direction, okay?
And so we really have to watch our mental diet, especially right now. I think it's a really hot topic, or it should be a hot topic, is what are we allowing into our minds? Because that'll control the state of mind that you're in.
And I think it's interesting you use the word control, because so many people that have reached out to me have said, I feel like I have no control. Well, you do have control of what you do on a daily basis. You have control of what you think, like you said, your mental diet. You have control of what you do right now. There's so many times I found myself feeling overwhelmed, and then I would redirect. I would say no. When things are crazy busy and I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I think I would just love a day to stay at home and to take care of this project that I see in my home all the time, because I'm visualizing like I'm in my home drinking my coffee and I see something in my home that needs to be done. Well, now I'm doing that. I have this opportunity. So if you flip the script and see it as an opportunity and not as, this horrible doomsday thing that happened, which it is a horrible thing, but you don't have to react to it horribly. You are in control on how you react to it. And I think that's empowering.
Absolutely. And so something you said when we were off air, you were talking about you must like something because it's very hippie. Well, that's me at my heart. I feel like I'm a very spiritual and soulful person, and I think it's one of the reasons I love animals so much is they just connect you and ground you to. I would just call it my creator. And especially horses. But we've got horses, dogs, chickens, cats, sheep. We've got all kinds of stuff at our farm. And what's funny is none of my animals are stressed. None of them.
That is so interesting.
They don't have any idea what's going on. They don't have Facebook. They're not talking about this. And so when I think about the animals, and that really is my connection many times to God, is through nature and through animals. And I look at them and I'm like, they're not stressed because they're not worried about worldly things. They're not worried about what they can control and what they can't control. And they're just being. And so imagine, I had a moment where I was really worked up in all this. I've had some really tough days. I mean, days where I just cried and cried and cried.
Same here.
Days where I was really, really mad. So I'm not coming to you from some pedestal where I'm like high and mighty. I'm coming to you as somebody on the same journey as everybody else. But I looked at these animals and I was like, they are not worried. What would my life be right now if I didn't even have like social media or a phone? What would it be like right now if somebody had just told me in passing, like, hey, there's going to be some restrictions, there's a virus going around, and I didn't see all the extra crap and the debates and the angry people? What would happen? How would I be living right now if I hadn't seen all of that? And that was when I really started saying, okay, I've got to watch my mental diet, because right now scrolling through whatever it is that I'm scrolling through is not helping. I'm not talking about throwing your head in the sand and ignoring the problem. I'm just talking about controlling your own mental state and protecting yourself and protecting your family. Kids aren't worried either. I don't know if you guys have noticed. If you're not talking about it in front of your kids, they're not worried. They're about as close to God as you can get.
Right.
So they don't have all the extra filters going through their brains like we do.
And Gage has like been the happiest kid ever.
Yeah.
Like he loves being home. He loves doing school from home. He loves, being able to squirrel hunt and go dig for worms all day. Like
this is like the
be
longest
nice.
summer vacation, and they're like, why did mom snap at me? Well,
Right.
because mom kept scrolling Facebook all day until mom's
Right.
angry now. So that's the honest truth. So
Wow. And animals also realize that their environment may have changed, but their source did not.
mm-hmm.
The source for their daily, dose of food and the land that they have is not changed. It's not the environment. That's interesting.
And I can't think of any like magical quotes or anything like that right now, but I think the interesting thing for us is our source hasn't changed either.
Right.
We may be asked to give up worldly valuables, and I was clinging like nobody's business to some of those worldly valuables, and I realized I was clinging to the wrong thing, because I asked myself, okay, so what happens if it's the worst? What happens if this is the absolute worst thing that could ever happen and we lose everything? And I thought, as long as I don't lose my husband and my kids, I'm okay.
Same here. Isn't that funny?
That's pretty freeing, right? It's pretty
Like
freeing.
they can take it all. I don't care. As long as I have my people.
Yeah. And, as far as real estate goes, there were some fears on my team, and there were fears around, like, what happens if there's no business? And, like, there's actually going to be business, because now things just got harder.
Yep.
And so people need us more than ever, and so they need us to be creative, and they need us to be resourceful, and they need us to change and alter the path that we were on so that we can serve them better. And as long as businesses, I mean, every business just has to change, right? All these restaurant owners that are having to do takeout, they're having to reestablish their business model. They've had to go down to fewer employees. They've had to, deliver food to doors sitting outside. Some of them were asked to shut down completely. It's some of these business owners. And so we need to be asking ourselves, what else do we need to shift to serve the clients that are out there? I truly believe that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. And so we've got to go and open our eyes and ask whoever your creator is, whatever you believe in, you've got to ask deep down in yourself, what do I need to change right now? We've got the best opportunity to do that. And there are people out there that need your input and your services to the world. It may just change the way it looks. It may look a lot different after this. I don't know what it's going to look like. If I did, I'd tell you. But I feel like we need to be ready for it.
And no one does. And I feel like because of that, we're all in a similar boat of fear, one. And then if you will, transfer that fear and turn that fear into faith, and then accept that change is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Everything, we say, oh, if everything could just go back to before. Well, before wasn't really working for a lot of people. So if we will take this time and examine why that wasn't working, and then pivot in a strategic manner, then to me that is the best thing going into a new decade that could have happened, is that we eliminate the distractions and the trash from that mental diet that you've been speaking of. Speaking of a shift, we are going to shift into another commercial. So Brittany and I were talking about, first she shared her story and how she got started, and then she's kind of shifted and started talking about her favorite thing as far as her daily routine and her favorite thing to do coaching on, and that's mindset. And we were talking about your mental diet and how important that is right now with, you know, being home and being in a, like you said, crisis schooling. I think that's hysterical because that's exactly what it is. We're not homeschooling. There's nothing normal about this. And like if you're me, you're being a photographer and a teacher and a mom and a wife and everything else, a radio host. So it's not the same as a homeschool situation. So that mental diet that we were discussing before we went on our last break is so important, because if you don't have that right mindset, if you're not looking and focusing on the right things and being in control of what you're seeing, then you're not coming from a place of peace. You're not coming from a place of victory. You're coming from a place of panic and fear and that sense of loss of control, and that can be devastating to a business owner, to a mom, to any human being. But we have the unique perspective of being both moms and female business owners, and so we can relate to that whole mom guilt. We can relate to that whole I'm not spending enough time on my business, you know, because my business is my baby. Yes, I have a son, and he is my baby. He will always be my baby, but my business is also my baby. So it's like you're torn between the two. So keeping that mental diet healthy and focusing on the right things and creating those strict boundaries. So when you are at work, you're at work, even though you're working from home. And when you are at home with your children and with your husband, like you said, you're looking him in the eye. You're not on your phones and you're not distracted. So is there anything else that you would like to kind of sum up from that discussion? And then we can talk about how we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I want to add is whenever you find yourself in a space of fear right now, I want you to remind yourself that fear asks a lot of questions. Fear asks what if questions. And so if you feel that fear welling up inside of you, I want you to go grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to just write out your worst fears and just say, like, what if, and write until you can't write anymore. And then sit there and maybe close your eyes and think, what would I do if that did happen? What would be my plan A through Z for that, right? And what you'll start to realize is that you are way more resourceful than you think you are. And if you focus on the problem, you'll stay in the problem. But if you focus on, well, what if, and you come up with a plan, you'll start to realize that you don't really have that much to be fearful of anyway. And the other thing that I would say is this was really hard for me because I was really gripping onto and holding on to what my reality was before we went into this and holding on to it for dear life. And I just want you to imagine like that you've got your fists clenched and you're holding on as tight as you can. You cannot open up to opportunities and ideas if your fists are clenched. You can't do it. And so whenever you're thinking about what the world has taken away from you, I mean, take a minute and stop and think, okay, if I let go of that, what might I be open to? And when I finally got through that hump, I started to realize that there was a lot more that I'm being called to do, that if I hadn't had some things forcibly removed from my grip, I wouldn't have felt them, I wouldn't have seen them, I wouldn't have even acknowledged them. And so I invite everybody to go through their what ifs and to imagine what it would be like if they just relinquished control for a little while, even if it's just for a moment while you're praying or you're meditating or whatever that looks like for you. And just ask yourself, what opportunities are trying to shine their way into my life?
I like that you have to let go of that tight grip so that you can open your hands and receive more. As you know, as a believer, I am always looking for different ways, you know, to hear and to experience, you know, that relationship. But something that's come to me lately is not only letting go, but being open to the new things that he's bringing to me. Because as someone who is, you know, a very creative and spiritual person, you know, sometimes I like to rely on it's my creativity. That's not the case. It's not me. It's him bringing it to me. And then, like you said, you're not like this person that's astray. You created those you did something with the opportunities that were brought to you, and not everyone takes advantage of that. So I'm trying to be like in 2010 right now with you, taking advantage of that, to be open and to receive. And as someone who is like a doer, it's not easy to receive.
Well,
So.
and I don't mean to, knock anybody that is in any other faith, but in the Bible it does say, be still and know.
Yep.
Be still and know. Not scroll Facebook and know. Not not watch the news and know. It says be still and know. And I think there's a lot of wisdom to be found in many religions, so I don't care about which one that we're talking about, but that quote really gets me. And so if you find yourself in fear, be still.
I love that. Thank you. So, Brittany, how can we get in touch with you if someone is wanting to sell their house right now during this crazy COVID thing, or if someone is looking to buy a home right now or commercial property? How can we get in touch with you?
Well, if you're a Facebook person, we're all over Facebook, Brittany Purcell and Associates, or I'm on Facebook, Brittany Denmark Purcell. Denmark is my maiden name. And if you want to go to our website and browse, at your convenience, it's BrittanySells.com. So BrittanyS as in Sam, ELLS.com. And we would love to serve anyone. We've gotten really creative over the past couple of weeks. It's been fun. So it's been awesome, actually.
And I've enjoyed seeing all the creativity, and I love the hometown hero that y'all did also. Very creative. Keep it up.
That was awesome. That was really awesome.
Keep it up. But thank you again for being in the studio today and
Thanks for
taking time away from your busy schedule. We will be back in studio next Wednesday morning, and I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.